HBO announced the official release date for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Imagine waiting for new Game of Thrones content, and HBO finally drops a release date that is so close you can practically taste the medieval violence and questionable decision-making already. Well, stop imagining, because HBO just announced that A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is officially hitting our screens in 2025, and the hype train has officially left the station at full speed with no brakes and possibly no conductor. If you want to stay ahead of every announcement, casting reveal, and Westeros rumor that drops between now and the premiere, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because we are your one-stop shop for everything happening in the Seven Kingdoms. So let's get right into the juicy details, because HBO did not just give us a vague coming soon like they're teasing a perfume commercial. No, they went ahead and confirmed that A Night of the Seven Kingdoms will premiere in late 2025, which means we've got less than a year to prepare ourselves emotionally for a whole new flavor of Westerosi chaos. Now, HBO being HBO, they have not given us the exact date yet, because apparently they enjoy watching us refresh their social media pages like our lives depend on it. But the confirmation alone is enough to send the fandom into a frenzy that rivals the Dance of the Dragons. Here is why this release date is actually brilliant from a strategic standpoint. House of the Dragon is currently dominating the conversation, and by spacing out A Night of the Seven Kingdoms for a late 2025 release, HBO is essentially creating a content pipeline that keeps Westeros in the cultural conversation year-round. It is like they looked at the Marvel Cinematic Universe strategy and said, yeah, we can do that, but with more swords and significantly worse family dynamics. Smart move, HBO. Very smart move. But let's talk about what this release timeline actually means for the production, because dates do not just appear out of thin air like a White Walker in the long night. The fact that we are getting a late 2025 premiere means filming has either wrapped or is in the final stages, which tracks with reports that production has been happening throughout 2024 and into early 2025. This is not some pie-in-the-sky announcement where they're hoping to maybe possibly potentially get around to making the show eventually. No, this thing is happening, it is real, and it is coming at us faster than a Dothraki charge. Now here is where things get really interesting from a release strategy perspective. Late 2025 puts A Night of the Seven Kingdoms in that sweet spot right before the holidays, which is premium television real estate. HBO is clearly banking on this show being appointment viewing, the kind of series that gets people talking around dinner tables and arguing in comment sections about whether Dunk made the right call in whatever situation he inevitably fumbles his way into. It is the same window that Game of Thrones used to dominate back in its heyday, and HBO is not subtle about trying to recapture that magic. But let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the dragon in the throne room. How does this release date affect House of the Dragon? Well, here's the thing. House of the Dragon Season 3 is not expected until 2026 at the earliest, which means A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is going to be holding down the Westeros fort solo for a while. It is like HBO looked at the gap between Dragon seasons and said, we cannot leave the fans without content for that long, or they will start watching other shows, and we absolutely cannot have that. So they are plugging that gap with Dunk and Egg, and honestly, it is a power move that shows HBO is fully committed to making Westeros a year-round franchise. Speaking of commitment, let's talk about what this release date tells us about HBO's confidence in the project. They're not burying this show in the summer doldrums or throwing it out there in January when everyone is too broke and depressed to care about anything. No, they're giving it a premium slot, which means they believe in it. They have seen the footage, they know what they have got, and they are ready to make this a flagship series. That should get every Game of Thrones fan excited, because HBO does not gamble with the Westeros brand, not after spending years rebuilding trust post-Season 8. Now let's get into the practical implications of this release date for us, the viewers who have been waiting patiently, or in some cases very impatiently, for new content. Late 2025 means we are looking at probably an October, November, or December premiere. If I were a betting man, and in Westeros everyone is a betting man, I would put my money on a November launch. Why? because that gives HBO time to build hype through the fall. It avoids the crowded streaming landscape of October when everyone is throwing out spooky content, and it positions the show perfectly for that end-of-year awards consideration. HBO loves awards almost as much as they love dragons, so you know they're thinking about that Emmy campaign already. But here is what has me really excited about this timeline. A late 2025 release means the marketing campaign is about to kick into overdrive. We are talking character posters, behind-the-scenes footage, cast interviews, maybe even a full trailer in the coming months. HBO is going to spend the next year making sure that everyone and their mother knows that a Night of the Seven Kingdoms is coming. And if you thought the House of the Dragon marketing blitz was intense, buckle up, because we are about to see that strategy on steroids. They're going to make it impossible to escape Dunk and Egg, and I am not complaining. Let's also consider what this release date means for the broader Game of Thrones universe that HBO is clearly trying to build. We have got House of the Dragon continuing its run, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms launching in 2025, and rumors of other projects in development, including the Jon Snow sequel series that may or may not still be happening, depending on which day of the week you ask. HBO is trying to create a Westeros cinematic universe, and this release date is a crucial piece of that puzzle. They are testing whether audiences will show up for stories that are not about the Iron Throne or massive dragon battles. And if Night of the Seven Kingdoms succeeds, it opens the door for all kinds of other Westeros stories to be told. Now let's talk about expectations, because with great release dates comes great responsibility, or something like that. The bar is set incredibly high thanks to Game of Thrones at its peak and House of the Dragon, proving that lightning can strike twice. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms needs to justify its existence, and the late 2025 release date gives the creators zero room for excuses. The show needs to be polished, the writing needs to be sharp, and the production values need to match or exceed what we have seen in previous Westeros content. The good news is that with George R.R. Martin involved as an executive producer and the source material being some of his best work, the foundation is solid. But execution is everything, and we will not know if they stuck the landing until that premiere day hits. Here is something else to consider about this release timing. By late 2025, it will have been over a year since House of the Dragon Season 2 aired, which means the fandom is going to be hungry for content. HBO is counting on that hunger to translate into massive viewership numbers for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. They are also probably hoping that the show will bring in new fans who might have been intimidated by the sprawling complexity of Game of Thrones or the heavy dragon-focused narrative of House of the Dragon. This is meant to be an accessible entry point, and the release date suggests HBO wants to make a big splash with it. Let's also talk about the international implications of this release, because Game of Thrones is a global phenomenon. A late 2025 release means HBO has time to coordinate with their international partners, set up simultaneous releases in multiple territories, and build hype worldwide. This is not just an American launch. This is going to be a global event, and HBO knows that the international audience is just as passionate about Westeros as domestic viewers. They're going to make sure that fans in every corner of the world can experience A Night of the Seven Kingdoms at the same time, which is smart business and good fan service. Now, what should we be doing between now and the late 2025 premiere? Well, if you have not already, this is the perfect time to read the tales of Dunk and Egg novellas that the series is based on. They are quick reads, they are fantastic, and they will give you so much more context and appreciation for what the show is trying to accomplish. Plus, you will be able to smugly point out differences between the books and the show, which is basically a requirement for being in the Game of Thrones fandom. The release date announcement also means we're going to start seeing the cast do press tours, convention appearances, and all the promotional work that comes with launching a major series. Get ready for interviews where the actors carefully avoid spoilers while somehow making everything sound incredibly exciting. Get ready for George R.R. Martin blog posts that may or may not contain subtle hints about the show's direction. Get ready for the entire internet to dissect every single frame of footage we get between now and premiere day. Thanks for watching, and may your wait for late 2025 be shorter than a Westeros winter.